For today's video, I want to talk about another meta program from NLP called Attention Direction. And if you haven't seen some of the prior videos, just to summarize, a meta program is a way that our brain has a default decision-making process or how we evaluate information or emotions. And so for this video, we're going to talk about the Attention Direction meta program. And there's two attention directions that a person can have. And they usually tend to favor one or the other, but I'll show you that in a minute. It can either be attention on self or attention on others. And so this is an either or, by the way. There's a timeline that we could draw. I'll do it here, or where we put others here, self here, and you can fall anywhere on this timeline. And for people that are extreme self, this is very what you'd call selfish type people. And people over here who are far others, we're talking about very empathetic. They're almost martyrs. So we can switch spots on this timeline, by the way, as we go through life. So a perfect example is a new mother. Maybe she was very self-directed before the kids were born, but when the kids were born, this comes way back this way. And so self people obviously is pretty self-explanatory. It's me, me, me. You're worried about yourself, how you can get ahead, what's best for you. And then again, this is natural, it's human nature. Others focus on other people's feelings, needs first. Why is this valuable for you? And we all work different jobs, we all have different lives, but a great story that I can relate why this is so important comes from SAS Airlines. So years back, SAS Airlines had a problem. They started getting more and more customer service complaints. And when they dug into it, I think they hired a consulting firm and some outside help. When they dug into these customer service complaints, they found one very interesting fact. Just about all of them came from 10% of their staff. So whenever these complaints were lodged, SAS Airlines had people that were on the planes. This is anybody that deals with people. So for the most part, the pilots were tucked away. Maintenance crews are on the ground. They don't interact. But we're talking about stewardesses and anybody at the customer service ticket counters. Just about all the complaints came from 10% of the employees. So the obvious question that the consulting firm asked is, what is it about these 10% of people that are driving these complaints? And as they dug into the situations and sat and watched them work, they found something very fascinating. These people all had one common trait. They were extreme self-directed for attention direction. So think about a stewardess, right? If you're extremely self-directed and a passenger comes up and says, "Hey, ma'am, could I get an extra bag of peanuts or could I get another drink?" These people were actually getting frustrated that they kept getting asked customer service questions. Get another drink? Could I get a blanket? Could I get a pillow? And so they showed attitude or they purposely ignored the request. And so that was driving these 10% of complaints. So the next question is from the consultants, if we know that the people who are driving the customer service complaints are all selfish, how do we fix this in hiring? I mean, we could fire all these people, but you still need to restaff. So how do you account for that? Well, the consulting firm came up with a brilliant solution using attention direction. What they did is they brought a round of interviewees all in a room, and there was a stage like this. And then there was people sitting all here, all out here. I don't know if it was 50 or 75 people that they brought in for the interviews. And they told them, we want you to write I think it was a 60 to 90 second speech on, I believe, why you want to work at SAS Airlines or what you like about the airline industry. And you're all going to come up and give the talk. So when it came for each person's turn, they got up, gave their talk, and then they sat down. But the consultants weren't watching the talk. They weren't even listening to the subject of the talk. Do you want to know what they were watching? Every time somebody new got up to talk here, their eyes are on the audience. And what are they looking for? They are watching for, if somebody's up giving a speech, who is paying attention to the speaker. And what they found is a lot of people in the audience, when this person was speaking, they're actually glancing down at their own notes, thinking about what they're going to say when they go up there. Or if they already spoke, maybe they were off in space and they weren't concerned what that person was saying. But there was a few people in the audience who were completely focused on the speaker. Eye contact, body language, they were listening to what they were saying and absorbing it. Can you take a guess who got hired to replace these 10% of people? That's right. The others, people with an attention direction on others. Because as a stewardess or somebody in the plane that interacts with people, you've got to be focused on others. You've got to put yourself aside. And so this interviewing tactic was brilliant because you cut all the people that are selfish directed and you weeded them out. And then what was left, almost like when you pour the water for the gold mining and then you're left with the gold in the filter, is you were left with a few people who were others focused. Can you take a guess what happened to this number after this interviewing process? If you answered complaints went to about 0%, congratulations, give yourself a gold star. And I highlight this story because you can use this in your life. Some jobs, some roles, you have to be internally focused. Somebody who's got to concentrate all day and just pound workout, they don't have time to worry about others' problems. But in the airline instance, or customer service, or hospitality, things like that, you have to be focused on others. Or think about like a psychologist. They have to be tuned in to what their patient is saying. They can't be off absorbed in their own life during these sessions. And so to wrap this video up, attention direction is a nice way to figure out how people think. And I think the elicitation question you can use is, in this situation, are you more focused on your feelings or are you more focused on others' feelings? And so that's it for attention direction. Thank you for watching.